What if a man like Elon Musk, known for pushing humanity's boundaries in technology and space, suddenly warned seniors across America to stop eating 5 common vegetables immediately? Imagine scrolling through your social media feed when a headline flashes before your eyes: Elon Musk warns seniors, stop eating these 5 vegetables immediately. You pause. Could this be real? Why would someone like Musk, an entrepreneur famous for rockets and electric cars, be giving nutritional advice? What's the catch? It's a question that hooks you instantly. The story starts in an unlikely place, a small Silicon Valley cafe where Musk, often immersed in futuristic projects, leaned into a serious discussion about health and aging during an exclusive interview. His voice, usually buzzing with excitement for Mars colonization or artificial intelligence, had a rare tone of urgency. "There are 5 vegetables that seniors should avoid," he said plainly. "I know this will sound strange, but the science is there." The interviewer blinked, caught off guard. Musk continued, "Before I tell you, hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?" That line wasn't just a call to action, it was a challenge. Could this warning be a spark for seniors everywhere to reconsider what they eat? This is how the story begins, an unexpected claim from one of the world's most influential figures, promising to shake up long-held beliefs about health, nutrition, and aging. But who is Elon Musk beyond the headlines? What could motivate him to step out of his tech domain and into the realm of dietary advice? Born and raised in South Africa, Elon's upbringing was shaped by a mix of intellect and toughness. His mother, May Musk, a dietitian and model, emphasized good nutrition and health from his earliest days, yet young Elon was never one to simply follow rules. Instead, he dabbled in fast food and sugary drinks, admitting later that he would rather eat tasty food and live a shorter life. Despite this, his adult years have been marked by an evolving relationship with health. After years of sleepless nights and stress, Musk began to experiment with intermittent fasting and more conscious eating habits, seeking clarity of mind and physical endurance for his relentless work schedule. It was a friend's suggestion to cut down on certain foods that led him down a rabbit hole of nutritional research. And what he discovered surprised him: some of the vegetables commonly hailed as superfoods for seniors could, in fact, carry hidden risks. This revelation was fueled by studies indicating that certain compounds in these vegetables interact negatively with aging bodies, particularly in seniors with underlying health issues like kidney problems, inflammation, or blood sugar imbalances. The 5 vegetables Musk singled out, spinach, tomatoes, potatoes, corn, and eggplant, are staples in many American diets. Spinach, rich in oxalates, can contribute to kidney stone formation in vulnerable individuals. Tomatoes and eggplants, members of the nightshade family, have been linked to increased inflammation and joint pain in some people. Potatoes, with their high glycemic index, may cause dangerous blood sugar spikes, particularly for seniors with diabetes or prediabetes. Corn, often genetically modified, raises concerns about pesticide exposure and digestive problems. Hearing this, many seniors were thrown into confusion. For decades, doctors and nutritionists encouraged the consumption of vegetables like spinach and tomatoes for their vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Now, Musk's warning seemed to contradict all that. The conflict intensified as the story spread. Critics dismissed the claim as sensationalism, while some health professionals called for a deeper look. One nutritionist, Dr. Linda Hayes, became a key voice in the debate. She explained that while vegetables are generally good for health, individual responses vary. "There's no one-size-fits-all diet," she said. "Especially for seniors, who may have chronic conditions or sensitivities, certain foods might need to be limited." The public watched as the conversation unfolded like a drama, alternating between moments of skepticism, hope, and renewed caution. Seniors felt caught between trusted advice and new warnings. Many felt helpless, unsure whom to believe. But then, stories of hope emerged: people who had adjusted their diets, removed some of these vegetables, and experienced improvements in pain, energy, or digestion. Yet, the challenges continued. As with any health journey, there was no instant fix. Some seniors faced cravings and dietary restrictions that felt limiting. Others encountered medical setbacks or needed to navigate complex nutrition labels and unfamiliar meal plans. The story took on the shape of a climactic journey, one where seniors were no longer passive recipients of advice but active participants in discovering what worked best for their bodies. They learned to listen to their own signals, to experiment cautiously, and to seek guidance from healthcare providers who understood their unique needs. The emotional climax came when a major health organization weighed in. After reviewing emerging research, they issued a nuanced statement: yes, some vegetables may pose risks for specific groups of seniors, but elimination should be carefully considered and personalized. The revelation shook the community but also offered hope. Nutrition is not about fear but informed choices and balance. Seniors found themselves at a crossroads, faced with difficult decisions but empowered by knowledge. In the end, the story resolves not with a strict yes or no, but with a profound message about life and health. It's about the love we have for ourselves and those around us, the sacrifices made to live well, and the courage to question what we thought was certain. Life is full of surprises, the story concludes, but love will always lead the way. The experience teaches seniors and all readers that while science evolves and advice changes, the core of well-being remains connection, care, and self-awareness. So when you hear a surprising warning, even from a tech billionaire, take it as a beginning, not an end. Use it as an opportunity to explore, to grow, and to protect what matters most, your health and happiness. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Elon Musk is a figure wrapped in contradictions and complexity. To understand why he would step beyond his usual realm of rockets, electric cars, and artificial intelligence to issue a warning about vegetables, we need to look deeper into his life story and the motivations that have shaped him. Born in Pretoria, South Africa, in 1971, Elon was the eldest of 3 siblings and raised in a household where intellect and achievement were highly valued. His mother, May Musk, was a dietitian and model who instilled in her children an early awareness of nutrition and the importance of a healthy lifestyle. Yet Elon's childhood was not without its challenges. He experienced bullying at school and struggled with feelings of isolation, often retreating into books and computers. He was fascinated by science fiction and technology, dreaming of a future where humanity expanded beyond Earth. His relationship with his parents was complicated, particularly with his father, whom he later described as difficult and sometimes emotionally distant. Despite the tension, the seeds of resilience and ambition took root early in Elon's psyche. His teenage years were a mix of brilliance and turmoil. He taught himself computer programming and sold his first software game at age 12. Yet he grappled with loneliness and a fierce drive to prove himself. When he moved to Canada at 17 and later to the United States, the cultural shifts and new pressures fueled his determination to succeed against all odds. Musk's adult life has been a whirlwind of achievements and setbacks. As CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, he transformed industries, but not without controversy and personal sacrifice. The demands of his work, relentless schedule, and intense public scrutiny tested his health and mental well-being. Behind the headlines of billion-dollar deals and groundbreaking launches was a man searching for meaning and balance. In recent years, Musk's personal health journey became more prominent. Once a self-admitted junk food lover, he began to embrace more disciplined habits after witnessing close friends face health crises. He explored various diets and fasting regimens, driven not only by curiosity but by a practical need to sustain his grueling pace of innovation. The turning point came when a close friend, a senior entrepreneur, suffered kidney stones and chronic inflammation, ailments common in aging but often misunderstood or misdiagnosed. This friend's struggles with conventional dietary advice, encouragement to eat more healthy vegetables that seemed to worsen symptoms, sparked Musk's interest in the nuanced science of nutrition for seniors. He delved into research papers, consulted with experts, and studied the biochemical effects of foods on aging bodies. What he found unsettled him. Contrary to popular belief, some vegetables revered for their antioxidants and vitamins contain compounds like oxalates, lectins, and alkaloids that can exacerbate health issues in older adults. Musk's warning was not born from fear-mongering but from a desire to share knowledge often overlooked in mainstream discussions. This message also ties into his larger philosophy about progress and personal responsibility. Musk often speaks about taking control of one's destiny, whether in space colonization or personal health. The warning about vegetables fits this pattern, a call to question assumptions, to seek evidence, and to adapt in the face of new information. His mother's influence remains a steady undercurrent in his approach. Mae Musk, despite her glamorous career, has always emphasized the importance of diet and self-care, advising her children to listen closely to their bodies and to be flexible with advice. Elon's blending of cutting-edge technology and grounded, sometimes counterintuitive health advice reflects this balance. Relationships also play a crucial role in shaping Musk's perspective. Though his romantic life has been public and sometimes tumultuous, his family connections provide insight into his deeper values. His bond with his children and mother reveals a man who, despite the public image of a relentless innovator, deeply values love and support. This personal side explains why his warning about seniors' diets carries emotional weight. It is not merely a scientific statement but a message motivated by care, concern for aging parents, friends, and millions of seniors who might unknowingly harm themselves while trying to stay healthy. Through this lens, Musk's warning is an extension of his lifelong pattern, confronting difficult truths and pushing beyond conventional wisdom to find better solutions. It's a process marked by trial and error, setbacks and breakthroughs, all colored by human complexity. His journey from a rebellious youth to a globally influential leader mirrors the story many seniors face, a blend of resilience, adaptation, and hope amid challenges. At the core, Musk's story invites us to reconsider our own assumptions about health and aging. It challenges the simplistic good versus bad food labels and urges a personalized, thoughtful approach. For seniors, this means embracing a mindset that balances caution with curiosity, recognizing that what sustains one person may not serve another. In doing so, it opens a space for growth, for reimagining what it means to age well in a world full of conflicting advice. The emotional undercurrent is powerful. Seniors reading Musk's warning may feel a mix of fear, skepticism, and hope. Fear because long-standing habits feel threatened, skepticism because the messenger is unexpected, hope because new knowledge promises a chance to improve quality of life. Musk's own vulnerability, his willingness to admit past mistakes in diet and to share personal health struggles, makes the message more relatable and human. This chapter closes with the understanding that the warning about vegetables is part of a larger narrative about taking control, embracing complexity, and nurturing life through informed choices. It is a story not just about food but about the enduring human spirit that pushes forward even when faced with uncertainty. As Musk once said, when something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. This applies as much to innovation as to personal health, especially in the face of aging's inevitable challenges. With this backstory laid out, the next step is to explore how Musk's warning unfolds into the rising conflict, the public reactions, expert debates, and the emotional roller coaster seniors experience as they grapple with changing advice on what to eat and what to avoid. The story moves from the man to the many, from individual insight to collective impact, setting the stage for the tension and hope that define the journey ahead. When Elon Musk's warning about the 5 vegetables hit the internet, it spread like wildfire, igniting a firestorm of debate, confusion, and curiosity across America. Seniors, the primary audience Musk addressed, found themselves caught in an unexpected dilemma. For decades, they had been told to eat plenty of vegetables to stay healthy, to embrace leafy greens, colorful produce, and nutrient-rich staples as pillars of a good diet. Now, here was one of the world's most prominent innovators claiming that some of these trusted foods could be harming them. The initial reaction was disbelief. Social media buzzed with comments ranging from shock to skepticism. Elon Musk. Talking about vegetables now, read one tweet. What's next? Stop brushing your teeth, posted another. Many seniors shared their confusion in online forums, unsure if the warning was a hoax or a serious piece of advice. Meanwhile, the news media quickly picked up the story, amplifying the controversy. Headlines varied from sensational, billionaire issues shocking dietary warning, to cautious, experts debate new claims on vegetables and aging. As the story unfolded, the 5 vegetables Musk identified, spinach, tomatoes, potatoes, corn, and eggplant, became hot topics in kitchens and dining rooms across the country. Nutritionists and medical professionals scrambled to respond. Some applauded Musk for drawing attention to an overlooked issue, while others criticized him for oversimplifying complex nutritional science. Dr. Linda Hayes, a respected nutritionist with decades of experience, appeared on several morning shows to provide context. It's important to remember that these vegetables are generally healthy for most people, she explained, but seniors often face unique challenges. Conditions like kidney disease, arthritis, and diabetes can make certain foods problematic. Hayes emphasized that oxalates in spinach might increase the risk of kidney stones for susceptible individuals, while the alkaloids in nightshade vegetables like tomatoes and eggplants could worsen inflammation in those with joint pain. Potatoes' high glycemic index posed a risk for blood sugar spikes in diabetics, and concerns about genetically modified corn raised questions about pesticide exposure and digestive health. This nuanced explanation helped ease some fears but also raised new questions. If these vegetables can harm some seniors, how do individuals know if they are at risk? How should they adjust their diets without losing essential nutrients? The conflicting messages created a perfect storm of tension. Seniors who had faithfully followed traditional dietary advice felt betrayed and confused. Family members worried about the health of their aging loved ones, unsure whether to advocate for change or caution. At the same time, a growing community of seniors began sharing their experiences online. Some reported relief after cutting back on the 5 vegetables Musk named, noting less joint pain, improved digestion, or more stable energy levels. Others struggled, missing favorite meals and feeling isolated by new dietary restrictions. In this back and forth, the story took on a climax, rhythm. The initial climax was the shock of the warning itself, the disruption of trusted routines and the fear it unleashed. Hope emerged as people found supportive communities, medical guidance, and positive results from dietary adjustments. Then came another climax, as ongoing debates, contradictory studies, and personal setbacks fueled uncertainty and frustration. For many seniors, the experience was deeply emotional. Food is more than nutrition, it's culture, comfort, and connection. Giving up beloved vegetables meant confronting loss and change. Some faced guilt, wondering if they had unknowingly harmed themselves or their families. Others grappled with frustration over mixed advice and the difficulty of navigating complex health decisions alone. Meanwhile, the controversy extended beyond individual tables. Grocery stores noticed shifts in demand. Sales of spinach and tomatoes dropped in some regions, while specialty markets offering alternatives like kale, Swiss chard, and sweet potatoes saw upticks. Healthcare providers found themselves fielding more questions about diet and aging, often needing to spend extra time explaining the nuances. Policymakers and senior advocacy groups took notice as well. Some called for clearer dietary guidelines tailored specifically to aging populations, highlighting the need for research that considers the diverse health profiles of seniors. The conflict reached national forums and online webinars where experts debated the evidence, the role of genetics, lifestyle factors, and the challenges of personalized nutrition. Through this growing tension, the human stories remained at the forefront. One senior woman shared how her chronic arthritis pain eased after she eliminated tomatoes and eggplants from her meals, a change she attributed to Musk's warning. Another man described the struggle of balancing diabetes management while resisting cravings for mashed potatoes, highlighting the emotional complexity of dietary change. These stories underscored the deep connection between food, identity, and health. The rising conflict also revealed broader themes about trust and information in the modern world. How do seniors sift through the flood of conflicting health advice? How do they decide which voices to trust, famous billionaires, medical experts, or their own experience? The answer was not simple. It required critical thinking, support networks, and access to reliable resources. Musk's warning, intended as a wake-up call, had triggered a national conversation about these very questions. In this chaotic mix of confusion and hope, the stage was set for the next chapter, the climactic journey. Seniors, families, and experts would move beyond debate to practical action, exploring new ways to adapt diets, innovate in healthcare, and embrace personalized nutrition. The journey would be marked by discovery, challenge, and resilience as they navigated unfamiliar territory together. The rising conflict wasn't just about vegetables, it was about aging itself, the search for balance, the courage to change, and the quest for well-being in a world that often feels overwhelming. Musk's warning served as both a catalyst and a mirror, reflecting the complexity of health and the power of knowledge to transform lives, even amid uncertainty. As this story continues, it invites readers to witness not just the clash of ideas but the unfolding of human courage, the hope that even when things get tough, we can find a way forward. Helen Parker had never expected that a casual scroll through her tablet would change the way she saw food, and life itself. A 68-year-old retired schoolteacher from Ohio, Helen was like many seniors across America, diligent about her health, faithful to her doctor's advice, and proud of the meals she prepared for herself and her family. When she first read Elon Musk's warning about 5 vegetables to avoid, she thought it was just another viral headline, something sensational, designed to provoke clicks. But as the news settled and conversations buzzed around her, Helen began to wonder if there was more truth than hype. Her history with food was layered with memories and emotions. Growing up in a family where meals meant gathering and stories, she learned to love tomatoes sliced fresh from the garden, creamy mashed potatoes on Sunday dinners, sautéed spinach tossed with garlic, roasted eggplant dishes passed down from her mother, and corn on the cob at summer barbecues. These weren't just ingredients, they were comfort, tradition, connection. Helen's health had been stable for years, but she had recently faced new challenges. Arthritis had crept into her joints, making simple tasks ache. Her doctor mentioned mild kidney issues and advised her to watch her blood sugar after a borderline diabetes test. Suddenly, Musk's warning didn't seem so far-fetched. If these vegetables could worsen inflammation, kidney problems, or blood sugar control, she needed to pay attention. The first hurdle was knowledge. The internet offered a flood of conflicting advice, with some sources praising these vegetables for their nutrients and others echoing Musk's caution. Helen spent nights reading articles, joining online forums, and watching health webinars. She learned about oxalates, alkaloids, lectins, compounds she had never heard of before, and how they might affect aging bodies differently than younger ones. The complexity was overwhelming. She wished for a clear guide but found only gray areas. This was the unexpected turn in Helen's journey, from passive acceptance to active inquiry. It was no longer enough to trust general recommendations, she needed to understand what was best for her unique body. She reached out to her doctor, who acknowledged the emerging research but emphasized individualized care. Together, they crafted a plan to monitor symptoms and gradually adjust her diet, avoiding the 5 vegetables in question while ensuring she still received essential vitamins and minerals. The shift was challenging. Helen found herself at the grocery store, staring at the familiar aisles with a new wariness. Spinach bags and tomato cans were no longer automatic purchases. She experimented with alternatives, kale, arugula, sweet potatoes, butternut squash, and discovered new flavors and textures. Cooking became a mix of trial and error, sometimes frustrating but often rewarding. Helen also faced social challenges. Family gatherings meant explaining her new restrictions, navigating questions and concerns from her children and grandchildren. Some resisted change, worried about tradition being lost. Others supported her wholeheartedly, eager to help prepare meals that aligned with her health needs. These interactions added emotional depth to her journey. Reminders that health is intertwined with relationships, love, and shared history. At the same time, Helen joined online communities of seniors who were exploring similar paths. Through forums and virtual meetups, she found solidarity and encouragement. Stories of setbacks and successes, recipes and tips, worries and laughter helped her feel less alone. This support network became a source of hope, reminder that adaptation is possible and that resilience is a shared strength. Yet, the journey was far from smooth. Helen encountered setbacks. There were days when cravings for potatoes or corn overwhelmed her, moments when joint pain flared despite dietary efforts, and times when the emotional weight of change felt heavy. The fear of making mistakes, of worsening her health or losing cherished pleasures, sometimes made her hesitate. But each time, Helen reminded herself of the bigger picture, a chance to live better, longer, and more fully. The vivid descriptions of her daily life brought this journey to life. The scent of roasted butternut squash warming her kitchen, the crisp crunch of fresh kale in a salad, the slow ache in her knees after a walk, the warm comfort of a phone call with a supportive friend, all painted a rich tapestry of experience. Helen's journey was not just about food, it was about confronting aging's realities with grace and courage. Along the way, she discovered unexpected joys. Cooking became creative again, as she tried new recipes and ingredients. She felt empowered by taking control of her health and embracing knowledge. The emotional highs and lows taught her patience and self-compassion. This chapter's emotional climax arrived when Helen experienced a breakthrough. After weeks of dietary adjustments, she noticed less stiffness in her joints and more stable energy throughout the day. A follow-up visit to her doctor confirmed improvements in inflammation markers and kidney function. This moment of hope was powerful, validating her efforts and reinforcing her resolve. But the journey wasn't over. New challenges loomed, social events with tempting foods, lingering doubts about long-term effects, and the constant need to balance caution with enjoyment. Helen understood that health was not a fixed destination but a lifelong journey, marked by ups and downs. This realization brought a mature perspective, blending optimism with realism. The chapter ends with Helen reflecting on her transformation. What began as a shocking warning from a billionaire had blossomed into a profound personal journey. She felt grateful for the knowledge, the support, and the strength she discovered within herself. Helen's story embodies the broader experience of seniors facing new health realities in a changing world. It highlights the power of curiosity, the importance of community, and the resilience of the human spirit. As Helen looks ahead, she embraces the future with cautious hope, ready to adapt, learn, and live fully. Her journey invites readers to consider their own relationship with health, change, and the unknown. Helen's world shifted again on a crisp autumn morning when the unexpected happened, an event that would shake her deeply and force her to confront truths she had been avoiding. After months of cautiously avoiding the 5 vegetables Elon Musk had warned about, embracing new recipes, and sharing her journey with friends and family, Helen felt a fragile sense of control over her health. Yet, beneath the surface, doubts lingered. Had she really made the right choices? Was she doing more harm than good by cutting out so many staples? The emotional climax came on a visit to her rheumatologist, Dr. Patel, who had been monitoring her arthritis and kidney function. The results of her latest blood work were in, and Dr. Patel's expression was serious. "Helen, there's something we need to discuss," she said gently. The words unsettled Helen's heart. Dr. Patel explained that while some inflammation markers had improved, others had unexpectedly spiked. Kidney function, too, showed signs of stress, contradicting the hopeful signs Helen had felt. "This is a complex picture," Dr. Patel continued. "It suggests that while eliminating those vegetables might have helped certain symptoms, other factors are contributing to your health issues. Sometimes, changes in diet can have unintended consequences. We need to reassess your plan." The news was a crushing blow. Helen felt a wave of fear, confusion, and frustration. All her efforts seemed to be met with new challenges. The hope she had clung to felt fragile and elusive. For a moment, she considered giving up, returning to old habits, seeking comfort in familiar routines. But then came the hope, the second part of the emotional climax, when Dr. Patel offered a new perspective. Helen, your body is telling a story. It's not just about food, it's about balance, lifestyle, stress, and even genetics. We need to look beyond simple categories of good and bad foods and explore a personalized approach. This might include reintroducing certain vegetables carefully, tracking reactions, and integrating other therapies. This approach rekindled Helen's determination. She realized that health was not about rigid rules but about listening deeply to her body, adapting thoughtfully, and seeking expert guidance. The emotional roller coaster continued as Helen embarked on this refined journey. She began food journaling, noting how different meals affected her pain levels, energy, and digestion. She experimented with small portions of previously avoided vegetables, observing subtle shifts. Sometimes, symptoms flared, other times, relief followed. This trial-and-error process was both taxing and empowering. Helen also embraced other lifestyle changes recommended by her doctor: gentle yoga for flexibility, meditation for stress reduction, and walking in nature for emotional balance. Each step brought new insights and emotional depth. She discovered resilience in vulnerability and strength in patience. Alongside these physical and emotional challenges, Helen faced moments of profound revelation. She came to understand that aging was not a linear decline but a complex, dynamic process shaped by myriad factors. Her journey was less about perfect health and more about connection, to herself, to loved ones, and to the broader community facing similar struggles. This revelation deepened her empathy and inspired her to share her story more openly. Helen began volunteering with a local senior center, leading discussions on nutrition, aging, and adapting to change. Her honesty about setbacks and progress resonated with others, creating a ripple effect of support and understanding. The emotional climax peaked during a family gathering where Helen prepared a meal blending old favorites with new ingredients. As she served the dishes, she shared her journey, the warnings, the challenges, the hopes, and the lessons. Her children listened with tears and pride, appreciating not just the food but the courage behind it. This moment crystallized the story's core message: life is full of surprises, but love and adaptability will always lead the way. Yet, just as hope blossomed, another challenge emerged: the third climax. A health scare in the family, a close friend hospitalized with complications linked to poor diet and untreated conditions, reminded Helen of life's fragility. It galvanized her commitment to proactive care and reinforced the importance of ongoing vigilance and learning. This cycle of tension, hope, and renewed tension captured the emotional rhythm of the story, reflecting the lived reality of many seniors navigating health in later years. Helen's transformation from fear and confusion to empowerment and acceptance became a beacon for others. Her story showed that emotional resilience is as vital as physical health and that embracing complexity leads to deeper fulfillment. The chapter closes with Helen reflecting on the journey's emotional landscape, acknowledging the pain and uncertainty but celebrating growth and connection. She looks forward with cautious optimism, ready to face whatever comes next with grace and courage. Her story embodies the heart of the warning, challenging assumptions, inspiring curiosity, and inviting us all to rethink how we age and care for ourselves. As she often reminds her community, we may not control everything, but we can choose how we respond. That makes all the difference. This emotional climax sets the stage for the resolution and reflection that follow, a hopeful conclusion grounded in hard-won wisdom and love. Helen sat quietly on her porch as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. The gentle breeze carried the familiar sense of late summer, freshly cut grass, blooming flowers, and the distant hum of neighborhood life settling into evening. It was a moment of peace after months of turmoil, confusion, and change. Her journey, sparked by Elon Musk's startling warning about 5 vegetables, had taken her through unexpected challenges, hard truths, and emotional highs and lows. Now, as she reflected on all she had learned and experienced, Helen felt a deep sense of gratitude and clarity. Life, she realized, was full of surprises, but love, adaptability, and self-awareness would always lead the way. The early days of her transformation had been overwhelming. Like many seniors, Helen had clung to familiar foods: spinach, tomatoes, potatoes, corn, and eggplant, vegetables that had long symbolized health and nourishment in her family's kitchen. When Musk's message went viral, it shook her world. How could the very things she had trusted to keep her well become sources of potential harm? The confusion was compounded by conflicting advice from doctors, nutritionists, and media pundits. But rather than retreating into denial, Helen embraced curiosity. She sought knowledge, experimented with her diet, and asked difficult questions about what aging truly meant for her body. The physical changes were just one part of the story. The emotional journey was perhaps even more profound. Helen grappled with feelings of loss as she said goodbye to beloved recipes and adapted to new tastes and textures. She felt frustration when progress stalled, anxiety about long-term consequences, and moments of loneliness as she navigated this path mostly on her own. Yet, through it all, she discovered resilience within herself, a capacity to learn, adapt, and keep hope alive even when the future seemed uncertain. Central to Helen's growth was the realization that health was deeply personal. There was no one-size-fits-all answer. The 5 vegetables Musk named were not inherently bad or good. Their impact depended on individual health conditions, genetics, lifestyle, and even emotional well-being. This nuanced understanding helped Helen move beyond fear to empowerment. Working with her doctor, she crafted a balanced diet that honored her body's signals while still allowing her to enjoy meals with family and friends. The importance of community became clear as well. Helen found strength in sharing her experiences with others facing similar challenges. Whether through local senior centers, online forums, or family conversations, these connections provided validation, support, and inspiration. Together, they celebrated small victories and offered comfort during setbacks. The chapter of Helen's life shaped by this journey also deepened her sense of purpose. She became an advocate for nuanced health education tailored to seniors, emphasizing listening to one's body, questioning assumptions, and seeking trustworthy guidance. Helen's story underscored that aging was not a passive decline but a dynamic process requiring awareness, courage, and compassion. As Helen prepared dinner one evening, blending roasted sweet potatoes with a salad of kale and arugula, she smiled at how far she had come. The new recipes had become rituals of joy rather than sacrifice. The physical discomforts persisted but were manageable, and the emotional burdens had softened. Most importantly, Helen felt connected, to herself, her loved ones, and a broader community learning together. She often shared a favorite saying, "We don't control everything life throws at us, but we can choose how we respond." This perspective had transformed her outlook, replacing fear with curiosity, rigidity with flexibility, and isolation with belonging. The lessons Helen learned extended beyond diet and health. They touched on love, family, sacrifice, and the human spirit's remarkable ability to grow through adversity. She understood that no journey was without pain, but each challenge offered an opportunity to discover strength and meaning. Helen's story ended not with a perfect resolution but with a hopeful beginning, an invitation for readers to embrace change with open hearts and minds. As she often encouraged others, your health is your story. Write it with care, courage, and kindness. In this way, the tale that began with a billionaire's warning about vegetables became a testament to life's complexity and beauty. Helen's transformation mirrored a larger truth: aging is not a problem to solve but a process to honor, filled with surprises that can teach us how to live more fully. The final message resonated clearly: life is unpredictable, but love, adaptability, and self-awareness will always guide us through. As the stars emerged overhead and the night settled in, Helen felt a calm confidence. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them with grace and hope. Her journey was far from over, but the path forward was brightened by the wisdom gained and the connections forged. And in that moment, she knew she was not alone. After months of experimenting with her diet and lifestyle, Helen felt a mixture of cautious optimism and lingering uncertainty. The warning from Elon Musk had set her on a path of transformation she hadn't anticipated in her retirement years. As the seasons shifted from the golden hues of fall into the starkness of winter, Helen's focus broadened beyond just food. She began to explore how other aspects of her life could influence her health and well-being. It was during a community health workshop that she met Dr. Ramirez, a gerontologist specializing in holistic senior care. His approach resonated deeply with Helen. Instead of fixating on eliminating certain foods, he emphasized balance, mindfulness, and personalized care. He encouraged Helen to view her body not as a battlefield but as a partner in a dialogue. Together, they discussed ways to integrate moderate exercise, stress management techniques, and social connection into her routine. Helen was intrigued by the idea that aging well wasn't solely about physical health but also emotional and social vitality. Inspired, Helen enrolled in a gentle yoga class tailored for seniors. The first sessions challenged her balance and flexibility, stirring memories of her younger days when she danced in high school musicals. Though her body protested at first, the gradual progress brought a sense of accomplishment and calm. The breathing exercises helped ease her arthritis pain and improved her sleep. At the same time, Helen reconnected with old friends and made new ones in her yoga group. The shared experience of vulnerability and perseverance created bonds that lifted her spirits and motivated her to keep going. Helen also dove deeper into the science behind nutrition and aging. She read studies on how antioxidants, fiber, and probiotics played roles in inflammation and gut health. She learned that avoiding certain vegetables without proper substitutes could cause nutrient gaps. With the help of a registered dietitian recommended by Dr. Ramirez, Helen redesigned her meals to include a variety of colorful fruits, nuts, whole grains, and fermented foods to support digestion and immunity. Cooking became an adventure again, filled with new flavors and textures. She discovered that swapping potatoes for roasted butternut squash or cauliflower rice brought unexpected delights. Family dinners grew into opportunities to share her journey, inspiring her grandchildren to try healthier dishes. But Helen's path wasn't without setbacks. A particularly harsh winter brought flu and fatigue, testing her resolve. She found herself missing old favorites and struggling with moments of doubt. A visit to her doctor revealed a mild vitamin D deficiency, a common issue for seniors in colder months, reminding Helen that health was a multifaceted puzzle. She adjusted her supplements and spent more time near sunny windows, practicing gratitude for small steps forward. The emotional highs and lows reminded Helen that progress was rarely linear. She journaled her thoughts and feelings, capturing moments of frustration alongside gratitude. Writing became a therapeutic outlet, helping her process change and cultivate patience. Helen's relationship with her family deepened as she shared these reflections. Her daughter, Susan, began joining her for walks and cooking experiments, strengthening their bond. Helen's husband, George, supported her by adapting his own eating habits and attending yoga classes with her, turning the journey into a shared adventure. The emotional complexity of these relationships added richness to Helen's story, reminding her that health is intertwined with love and connection. Community engagement became another pillar of Helen's well-being. She volunteered at the local senior center, leading discussions about nutrition and sharing recipes tailored for common health issues among older adults. Her openness about her struggles and discoveries resonated with many, fostering a sense of belonging and purpose. These interactions reinforced Helen's belief that facing health challenges was easier when done together. Helen also embraced technology to stay informed and connected. She joined virtual support groups for seniors, where members exchanged tips on managing arthritis, kidney health, and dietary adjustments. These digital friendships transcended geographic boundaries, offering diverse perspectives and encouragement. Yet, amidst these positive strides, Helen confronted moments of grief. A close friend passed away suddenly, a stark reminder of life's fragility. This loss deepened Helen's appreciation for the present and strengthened her resolve to live fully. She found solace in meditation and spiritual reflection, cultivating acceptance and peace. Through all these experiences, Helen's understanding of health evolved into a holistic vision. She recognized that the initial warning about certain vegetables was just one piece of a complex mosaic. True wellness encompassed physical care, emotional resilience, social support, and spiritual balance. Helen's journey was a testament to the power of adaptation, learning, and hope. As spring approached, Helen felt renewed energy and clarity. She hosted a garden party, inviting friends and family to celebrate life's cycles and the new recipes she had mastered. The table was vibrant with colorful dishes, roasted root vegetables, fresh salads with herbs, grilled fish, and homemade fruit compotes. Laughter and stories flowed freely, weaving a tapestry of community and joy. Helen's heart swelled with gratitude for the winding path that had brought her here, from confusion and fear to wisdom and connection. She knew challenges would continue, but she was ready. The journey was not about perfection but persistence. She often reminded herself and others, our bodies and lives are stories still unfolding. Every chapter teaches us something new. Helen's story embodied the spirit of American resilience, facing uncertainty with courage, seeking knowledge, building community, and embracing change. As she looked toward the future, she felt empowered to navigate whatever came next with grace and hope. Spring had finally arrived in Helen's small town, the air fragrant with blooming lilacs and freshly turned earth. After the long winter of introspection, setbacks, and gradual progress, Helen felt a renewed sense of purpose stirring within her. The lessons from the past months had settled like seeds beneath the surface, ready to sprout into new growth. She was eager to embrace this next chapter with openness and courage. One morning, as she sipped her herbal tea on the porch, Helen reflected on the unexpected journey that had begun with a viral warning from Elon Musk about the dangers of certain vegetables for seniors. What started as shock and confusion had become a deep dive into health, nutrition, and self-awareness. But more than that, it had become a journey of transformation, emotional, physical, and spiritual. Helen decided it was time to share her story more broadly. She drafted a heartfelt letter to the editor of the local newspaper, recounting her experiences with diet changes, medical consultations, and the emotional roller coaster of facing aging's realities. She spoke candidly about the challenges and hopes, urging others to question assumptions and seek personalized care. The letter was published with a warm response from readers across the community, many sharing their own stories and thanking Helen for her openness. This connection reinforced Helen's belief in the power of shared experience and collective wisdom. Inspired, Helen began volunteering to lead a monthly workshop at the senior center titled Navigating Nutrition and Aging with Courage. Each session combined practical tips, guest speakers, and open discussions that fostered trust and camaraderie. Seniors who once felt isolated by health issues found a welcoming space to explore their concerns and celebrate progress. The ripple effect was palpable, spreading curiosity and optimism. Helen's own health continued to improve in small but meaningful ways. Incorporating Dr. Ramirez's holistic approach, she balanced nutrition with gentle physical activity, mindfulness, and social engagement. Her arthritis pain became more manageable, her energy more consistent. However, Helen knew this was not a perfect or static state, it required ongoing attention and adaptation. One unexpected challenge arose when Helen developed a mild allergic reaction to a new ingredient she had introduced into her diet, a reminder that bodies change over time and require continuous listening. With patience, she adjusted her meals and monitored symptoms, sharing this experience with her workshop group as a lesson in resilience and flexibility. Helen's family remained a central source of support and joy. Susan, her daughter, surprised Helen by signing up for a nutrition course herself, eager to better understand her mother's journey and support her choices. George, too, embraced a healthier lifestyle, finding new hobbies like gardening that complemented Helen's interests. Together, they planned weekend outings that combined fresh air, light exercise, and shared meals, deepening their bonds. Through these moments, Helen realized that health was as much about relationships as it was about food or medicine. Emotionally, Helen found peace through meditation and journaling, practices that helped her process grief, fear, and hope. The recent loss of her close friend remained a tender wound, but Helen's growing spiritual awareness allowed her to honor that grief while embracing the present. She often reflected on the delicate balance between holding on and letting go, a lesson as old as life itself. Helen also explored new hobbies that enriched her sense of purpose. She took up watercolor painting, finding joy in capturing the vibrant colors of her garden and the changing seasons. This creative outlet became a form of meditation, a way to express emotions words could not fully convey. She shared her artwork at the senior center, inspiring others to discover their own talents and passions. Technology played an increasingly important role in Helen's life as well. She joined virtual book clubs and health forums, expanding her network beyond her small town. These connections provided fresh perspectives and reinforced the value of lifelong learning. Helen marveled at how digital tools could bridge distances and bring people together around shared interests and goals. Yet, amid these many positive developments, Helen faced moments of doubt and fatigue. Some days, the cumulative weight of health concerns, family responsibilities, and aging felt overwhelming. On those days, she reminded herself to breathe deeply, reach out to loved ones, and practice self-compassion. She learned that vulnerability was not weakness but a source of strength. Helen's story reached a turning point when she was invited to speak at a regional health conference about seniors and nutrition. Nervous but determined, she shared her journey, from the viral warning that triggered fear to the nuanced understanding she had gained. She emphasized the importance of personalized care, emotional resilience, and community support. Her candidness and warmth touched many in the audience, sparking conversations that extended well beyond the event. The experience boosted Helen's confidence and solidified her role as a community advocate. Back home, Helen continued refining her approach to nutrition, balancing the wisdom of science with her body's feedback. She maintained her food journal, noting not just physical reactions but emotional responses to meals and social experiences. This holistic view deepened her self-awareness and informed her choices. Helen also expanded her garden, planting herbs and vegetables that suited her dietary needs and preferences. Gardening became a source of physical activity, creativity, and connection to nature, an embodiment of the balance she sought in life. The garden's growth mirrored her own, patient, steady, and full of potential. As summer approached, Helen planned a celebration for the senior center to mark a year since her journey began. The event would include cooking demonstrations, yoga sessions, art exhibits, and storytelling circles. Helen hoped to honor the collective effort and resilience of her community. She felt proud of how far they had come together. Reflecting on her journey, Helen recognized that the initial fear sparked by Elon Musk's warning had transformed into a profound opportunity. It challenged her to rethink assumptions, embrace complexity, and cultivate compassion for herself and others. The lessons extended far beyond vegetables or arthritis, they touched on the essence of aging with dignity and joy. Helen's story was a testament to the American spirit of perseverance, curiosity, and connection. It reminded everyone that while we cannot control every aspect of our health or life, we can choose to face challenges with grace and hope. As she watched the sunset that evening, Helen felt a deep sense of peace and purpose. The journey was ongoing, filled with uncertainties and surprises, but also with love and learning. She smiled, ready for whatever chapters lay ahead. The heat of summer settled in slowly, wrapping Helen's town in golden sunlight and the scent of freshly cut grass. With each passing day, Helen felt the rhythm of life shifting around her. The laughter of children playing in the park, the hum of lawnmowers, and the chatter of neighbors gathered on porches. It was a season of warmth and growth, mirroring the inner changes Helen was experiencing. After months of careful diet adjustments, yoga classes, community involvement, and emotional reflection, Helen had arrived at a place of greater balance. But as she had learned, the journey was never without its twists. One morning, Helen awoke with an unfamiliar tightness in her chest and a fatigue that didn't match the rest she'd had. Concerned, She called her doctor, who urged her to come in for a checkup. The medical visit revealed early signs of hypertension, a common concern for seniors but one that added a new layer to her health management. The diagnosis stirred up a mix of emotions: frustration at yet another challenge, fear of complications, and determination to take control. Helen remembered how the warning about certain vegetables had initially unsettled her. Now, facing a new health hurdle, she resolved to apply the lessons she'd learned, to seek knowledge, stay proactive, and rely on her support network. With her doctor's guidance, Helen began a tailored treatment plan combining medication, stress reduction, and dietary tweaks. She learned that managing blood pressure wasn't just about reducing salt but also about increasing potassium-rich foods, many of which overlapped with the vegetables she had been cautious about. This nuance underscored the complexity of health advice and the importance of personalized care. Helen's approach became more mindful, focusing on balance rather than elimination. She incorporated leafy greens like Swiss chard and kale in moderation while avoiding those that triggered inflammation. Cooking took on a new dimension as she experimented with herbs and spices that enhanced flavor without added sodium. The kitchen became a laboratory of discovery, where trial and error led to satisfying and heart-healthy meals. Emotionally, the new diagnosis was a test of resilience. Helen felt moments of anxiety about the future but countered them with meditation, journaling, and conversations with friends who shared similar experiences. She found comfort in knowing she wasn't alone and that many had successfully managed hypertension through lifestyle changes. The support from her family deepened. Susan accompanied her to doctor appointments, asked thoughtful questions, and helped research new recipes. George remained her steadfast partner, reminding her to celebrate small victories. Together, they embraced a lifestyle that prioritized health without sacrificing joy. Helen's community workshops evolved as well. She invited a cardiologist to speak on heart health for seniors, broadening the conversations beyond nutrition to include exercise, medication, and mental well-being. The sessions became a hub for shared learning and encouragement. The seniors exchanged stories of setbacks and breakthroughs, forming bonds that transcended mere acquaintance. Through these experiences, Helen's understanding of aging deepened. She recognized that each new health issue was not a defeat but an opportunity to adapt and grow. The journey required patience, self-compassion, and a willingness to embrace uncertainty. Helen often reflected on the paradox of control and surrender, accepting what could not be changed while actively managing what could. In her personal life, Helen nurtured joy through simple pleasures. She returned to painting, capturing the vibrant summer blooms and sunlit skies. Gardening flourished under her care, each sprout a symbol of hope and renewal. Family gatherings became celebrations of connection, with shared meals reflecting their collective journey. Helen also discovered the power of storytelling as a tool for healing and empowerment. She began writing a memoir, chronicling her experiences from the viral warning to the present day. The process helped her make sense of the twists and turns, honoring the emotions and lessons along the way. Sharing excerpts with close friends brought feedback and encouragement, reinforcing her sense of purpose. As summer waned, Helen faced one final challenge that tested her resolve. A minor fall at home resulted in a fractured wrist, a reminder of the fragility that accompanies aging. The injury forced her to slow down and rely more heavily on her support network. It was a humbling experience but also a reaffirmation of community's importance. Helen's friends, family, and neighbors rallied to assist with daily tasks, offering rides, meals, and companionship. The experience deepened her gratitude and strengthened relationships. During recovery, Helen maintained her spirit through meditation, light stretching as permitted, and continued involvement in her workshops via virtual meetings. She encouraged others facing setbacks to see them as temporary detours rather than endpoints. The incident became a testament to resilience, adaptation, and the power of interdependence. By the time the leaves turned crisp and fall approached, Helen was walking confidently again, ready to embrace the season's changes. Her health was not perfect, but her spirit was strong. She understood that aging was a mosaic of challenges and triumphs, each contributing to a rich tapestry of experience. Helen's journey illuminated the truth that health is multifaceted: physical, emotional, social, and spiritual. The initial fear sparked by a billionaire's warning had blossomed into a comprehensive approach to living well. She hoped her story would inspire others to face their own journeys with courage, curiosity, and community. As she prepared a hearty vegetable stew, carefully selecting ingredients that nourished without harm, Helen smiled, grateful for the twists that had shaped her path. Life, with all its surprises and uncertainties, was a precious gift to be embraced fully. The arrival of autumn brought a crispness to the air and a palette of fiery reds and golds to Helen's neighborhood. The changing season seemed to mirror the shifts in Helen's life, each leaf turning a different shade, reminding her that transformation was natural, ongoing, and beautiful. After recovering from her wrist injury, Helen felt a renewed determination to deepen her understanding of health and aging. She was curious not only about managing symptoms but also about embracing vitality and purpose in her later years. With this mindset, Helen signed up for a community seminar focused on mental wellness for seniors, intrigued by the connection between brain health and lifestyle. The seminar was led by Dr. Evans, a neurologist with a passion for holistic approaches to cognitive care. He spoke about the importance of mental stimulation, social engagement, and nutrition in maintaining brain function. Helen was captivated by the research on antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, and the benefits of mindfulness meditation. She realized that the journey she had started with dietary changes now extended to cognitive and emotional wellness. Inspired, Helen incorporated daily puzzles, reading, and memory exercises into her routine. She also committed to maintaining her meditation practice, finding it helped calm anxious thoughts and sharpen focus. Helen's involvement in her community grew as well. She proposed a new club at the senior center called Mind and Body Wellness, blending physical activities like yoga with mental challenges and group discussions. The club quickly attracted a diverse group of seniors eager to explore holistic health. Helen facilitated conversations that balanced scientific knowledge with personal stories, creating a supportive atmosphere where members felt heard and empowered. Her leadership brought her a sense of fulfillment and connection, reinforcing the idea that aging well was a shared endeavor. Meanwhile, Helen continued to refine her nutrition, mindful of how food influenced not only her body but also her mind. She worked with a nutritionist to develop recipes rich in brain-friendly nutrients: wild salmon, walnuts, blueberries, and leafy greens, balanced with her ongoing considerations about vegetables that previously caused discomfort. Cooking became an act of love, nourishing both her and her family. Helen's daughter Susan embraced this approach wholeheartedly, often joining her in the kitchen and sharing recipes with her own family. George found joy in gardening the herbs and vegetables that complemented their meals, a hobby that brought peace and purpose. Despite these positive strides, Helen confronted moments of frustration. Some days, her memory seemed to falter, and she worried about decline. She reminded herself that aging was a complex process, not a race to a fixed point. Through journaling, she documented her thoughts, fears, and triumphs, finding clarity and perspective. Helen's workshops continued to evolve, incorporating guest speakers on topics ranging from sleep hygiene to stress management. These sessions sparked lively discussions and mutual support, helping seniors navigate the complexities of health in later life. The sense of community grew stronger, a testament to the power of shared experience and collective wisdom. One particularly meaningful event was a panel discussion featuring seniors who had overcome significant health challenges. Helen was inspired by their resilience and the diversity of their journeys. She shared her own story, emphasizing that setbacks were part of the process but did not define the whole narrative. The panel became a catalyst for deeper understanding and hope within the group. Helen's personal relationships deepened as well. She cherished quiet moments with George, their conversations rich with history, dreams, and gratitude. With Susan, Helen nurtured a bond rooted in mutual learning and support. Their shared commitment to health brought them closer, transforming family dynamics in gentle and profound ways. Helen also connected more intentionally with her grandchildren, encouraging them to explore healthy habits early on. She believed that the lessons she had learned could ripple forward, benefiting generations to come. The garden continued to thrive under Helen and George's care. The harvests of late summer and early fall were bountiful, filling their kitchen with fresh produce and vibrant colors. Gardening was more than a hobby, it was a metaphor for life's cycles of growth, patience, and renewal. Helen found peace kneeling in the soil, feeling connected to the earth and to the rhythms of nature. As the days shortened and the weather cooled, Helen reflected on the unexpected journey that had begun with a simple warning about vegetables. That initial spark of fear had ignited a flame of curiosity, resilience, and transformation. She marveled at the complexity of health, the importance of community, and the power of self-compassion. Helen knew the road ahead would hold new challenges, but she felt equipped to face them with grace and hope. Her story was no longer just about avoiding certain foods but about embracing a holistic approach to aging, a blend of science, spirit, connection, and joy. As she prepared a warm, nourishing meal for her family one evening, Helen felt a deep sense of gratitude. Life, with all its twists and turns, was a precious gift. Each day was an opportunity to learn, grow, and love. The journey was far from over, but Helen was ready to meet the future with an open heart and steady spirit. Winter crept into Helen's town with quiet snowfalls that blanketed the streets in white, muffling sounds and slowing the pace of life. The cold season brought with it a natural invitation to turn inward, to reflect on the year past and prepare for the months ahead. Helen found herself drawn to cozy evenings by the fire, journaling and sipping chamomile tea, grateful for the warmth of home and family. The months since her wrist injury had been a period of steady healing and continued growth. Helen's health was not perfect, she still navigated the complexities of arthritis and hypertension, but she had learned to live with these realities rather than fight them. Each day was a chance to practice patience and self-care. One evening, Helen received an unexpected phone call from Dr. Ramirez, who had been a steady guide throughout her journey. He wanted to discuss the results of her latest lab work. Helen's heart skipped. Was there bad news? Dr. Ramirez's calm, reassuring tone eased her fears. The tests showed improvement in inflammation markers and stable blood pressure readings. The holistic approach was working, but he emphasized the importance of continuing the balance between medication, diet, and lifestyle. This conversation reinforced Helen's resolve to stay engaged with her health and proactive in her care. Around the same time, Helen's community group faced its own challenges. Some members were dealing with new diagnoses or setbacks, which brought waves of anxiety and frustration. Helen organized a special meeting focused on resilience and coping strategies. She invited a mental health counselor to lead mindfulness exercises and stress management techniques. The session was a balm for many, reminding them that emotional well-being was as crucial as physical health. Helen's leadership shone as she created safe spaces for vulnerability and connection. Family gatherings during the holidays were particularly meaningful this year. Susan brought her children to visit, filling Helen's home with laughter and warmth. Helen delighted in teaching her grandchildren how to prepare simple, nutritious snacks and shared stories about her journey. George surprised her with a handmade photo album documenting the year's milestones, the garden blooms, workshop events, and candid family moments. These tangible memories deepened their bond and celebrated the shared journey. Yet, beneath the joy, Helen acknowledged the inevitable questions that aging stirred. How much control did she truly have over her body? What legacy would she leave? How could she face mortality with peace? These reflections found their way into her writing, which had become both a personal outlet and a way to connect with others. She planned to publish parts of her memoir online, hoping to inspire and comfort those walking similar paths. Helen also explored new avenues for giving back. She volunteered with a local charity delivering meals to seniors who were homebound, many isolated and struggling. The visits opened Helen's eyes to the broader community's needs and deepened her compassion. She saw the power of simple acts, listening, sharing a meal, offering a smile, in brightening lives. In her own self-care routine, Helen embraced winter's slower pace as an opportunity for rest and rejuvenation. She adjusted her exercise regimen to focus on gentle stretching and indoor activities, mindful of joint health. She experimented with new recipes rich in seasonal vegetables and warming spices, finding comfort in nourishing food. Helen's garden was dormant beneath the snow, but her connection to the earth remained strong. She began planning for spring, excited to try new plant varieties and incorporate lessons from the past year. Helen's friendships flourished as well. Regular phone calls and virtual meetups with her workshop group members provided connection despite winter's isolation. These relationships were lifelines, sources of encouragement and laughter. Helen often reflected on how community had transformed her experience of aging from solitude to solidarity. As the holidays passed and a new year dawned, Helen set intentions rather than resolutions. She focused on embracing uncertainty, cultivating gratitude, and deepening connections. The journey that began with fear and confusion had evolved into one of empowerment and grace. Helen's story was a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the possibility of thriving at any age. Sitting by her window one frosty morning, watching the snowflakes dance, Helen smiled. Life was unpredictable, filled with challenges and surprises. But with love, curiosity, and resilience, it was also profoundly beautiful. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Spring arrived gently, coaxing pale green shoots from the thawing earth and filling the air with the promise of renewal. Helen felt the season's energy seep into her bones, stirring a fresh wave of motivation and hope. The months of winter reflection had given way to action, plans to expand her community workshops, deepen her health practices, and nurture relationships. She noticed subtle changes within herself, a clearer mind, steadier step, and a growing confidence born from experience. Helen's garden was a central focus. She and George worked side by side, preparing beds and planting seeds with care. Each new sprout was a symbol of perseverance and possibility. Helen marveled at how the cycle of growth mirrored her own journey. After hardship came regrowth, after cold came warmth. The garden became a sanctuary, a place where the seasons of nature reflected the seasons of life. With renewed vigor, Helen revisited her dietary habits. She incorporated fresh vegetables harvested from their garden, spinach, carrots, and beets, while maintaining the mindful approach she had developed about foods that previously triggered discomfort. This balance was a testament to her evolving relationship with food, one of respect and curiosity rather than fear. Helen also expanded her mental wellness practices. Inspired by recent seminars, she added new meditation techniques focused on gratitude and compassion. These exercises deepened her emotional resilience and cultivated a gentler self-awareness. Helen found joy in sharing these practices with her community group, witnessing how small shifts in mindset rippled outwards, fostering connection and hope. The Mind and Body Wellness Club flourished under Helen's guidance. Attendance grew steadily, and the sessions became more interactive and diverse. Helen invited guest speakers from different disciplines, nutritionists, physical therapists, artists, and spiritual counselors, broadening the perspectives shared. Members formed friendships that extended beyond the meetings, creating a web of support and encouragement. Helen treasured these connections, recognizing that aging was not a solitary endeavor but a collective journey. Family life bloomed alongside Helen's personal growth. Susan's children were becoming more independent, yet their visits remained a source of joy and vitality. Helen relished teaching them about gardening, cooking, and mindfulness, passing on lessons that intertwined health with love and presence. George's health remained steady, and their partnership deepened in quiet companionship and shared purpose. Helen's writing took on new meaning. She completed a draft of her memoir, weaving together stories of challenge, transformation, and hope. The act of writing was cathartic, allowing her to process the past and envision the future. She began submitting chapters to online platforms and local publications, eager to connect with a wider audience. The response was encouraging, with readers expressing gratitude for her honesty and insights. This feedback fueled Helen's sense of purpose and inspired her to consider public speaking engagements. One such opportunity arose when Helen was invited to speak at a local health fair focused on aging well. Nervous but determined, she prepared a talk that combined personal narrative with practical advice. On the day, standing before a room full of seniors, caregivers, and health professionals, Helen found her voice steady and clear. She shared the pivotal moment when a viral warning from a famous entrepreneur sparked her journey, the challenges she faced, and the lessons she learned about balance, resilience, and community. Her authenticity resonated deeply, sparking questions and heartfelt conversations afterward. This experience marked a turning point. Helen realized that her story could empower others to face their own health journeys with courage and hope. As spring progressed, Helen faced a new challenge. A close friend was diagnosed with a serious illness. This news brought sorrow and a fresh wave of reflection on mortality, friendship, and the fragility of life. Helen became a pillar of support, offering practical help and emotional presence. The experience underscored the importance of compassion and the strength found in shared vulnerability. It also deepened Helen's commitment to savor each moment and to live fully despite uncertainty. Helen's health remained a careful dance. She adjusted medications as recommended, balanced activity with rest, and listened attentively to her body's signals. She celebrated improvements and accepted setbacks with grace, understanding that aging was a dynamic process. Her relationship with food continued to evolve, emphasizing nourishment and enjoyment rather than restriction. Throughout the season, Helen's sense of gratitude grew. Gratitude for health, for family, for friends, and for the opportunities to learn and grow. She often reflected on how the unexpected warning about vegetables had led her down a path of transformation far beyond diet. It was a journey into self-awareness, connection, and the profound richness of aging with intention. As the flowers blossomed and the days warmed, Helen felt ready to embrace whatever came next. Life was an ever-unfolding story, and she was both author and participant, crafting a narrative of hope, resilience, and love. Summer arrived with its long, sun-drenched days, filling Helen's neighborhood with the buzz of activity and the scent of blooming flowers. The warmth seeped into Helen's spirit, lifting her energy and inspiring fresh adventures. After months of steady growth and reflection, Helen was ready to explore new facets of her health and relationships. She embraced the season with an open heart and a curious mind. Helen's garden flourished under her care, bursting with ripe tomatoes, cucumbers, and vibrant herbs. Each morning, she and George wandered among the plants, harvesting fresh ingredients for meals that celebrated the season's bounty. The garden was not only a source of nourishment but also a place of meditation and joy, where the simple act of tending plants became a metaphor for patience and care. Inspired by her growing confidence, Helen signed up for a local hiking group designed for seniors. The idea of walking scenic trails with peers combined her love of nature with physical activity. Though initially hesitant about her stamina and balance, Helen found the hikes invigorating and empowering. The camaraderie of the group added a social dimension that enriched her experience. These outings sparked new friendships and a renewed appreciation for the outdoors. Helen also deepened her commitment to mental wellness. She began experimenting with creative expression, painting, writing poetry, and playing the piano. These activities brought joy and a sense of flow, moments where time seemed to dissolve and she was fully present. Helen shared her creations with friends and family, finding that creativity was another thread weaving connection and meaning into her life. At home, Helen and George continued to nurture their relationship. The years had brought them many joys and challenges, but their bond remained strong. They found pleasure in quiet evenings together, reminiscing about their journey and dreaming about the future. Their shared commitment to health and growth created a foundation of mutual support and respect. Family gatherings during summer holidays were lively and full of laughter. Helen's grandchildren eagerly joined her in the garden and kitchen, absorbing lessons in nutrition, mindfulness, and care. These intergenerational moments were precious, filling Helen with hope that her legacy of wellness would ripple forward. Helen's community group thrived as well. The mind and body wellness sessions expanded to include outdoor yoga classes, nutrition workshops, and group hikes. Members celebrated milestones, quitting smoking, lowering cholesterol, improving mobility, each success a testament to collective effort and encouragement. Helen's leadership was both gentle and inspiring, fostering an environment where seniors felt empowered to take charge of their health. Despite these positives, Helen faced a new challenge when she experienced a bout of insomnia. The restless nights eroded her energy and tested her patience. She consulted with her doctor, who recommended adjusting her routine and exploring relaxation techniques. Helen experimented with herbal teas, evening meditation, and limiting screen time before bed. Gradually, she reclaimed restful sleep, learning once again the importance of tuning into her body's needs. This struggle deepened her empathy for others facing similar issues and inspired a workshop on sleep hygiene at the senior center. Helen's writing continued to evolve, blending personal narrative with practical advice and reflections on aging. She received messages from readers who found comfort and motivation in her words, affirming the power of storytelling. Helen contemplated expanding her reach through podcasts or local radio segments, eager to share her message more broadly. Throughout the summer, Helen remained mindful of the balance between activity and rest, social connection and solitude. She practiced gratitude daily, often noting in her journal the small moments of beauty and joy. Her health was a mosaic of progress and setbacks, but her spirit was steadfast. Helen's journey illuminated the multifaceted nature of aging, not a decline but a complex, rich chapter of life filled with opportunity for growth, connection, and meaning. As the sun set on warm summer evenings, Helen sat on her porch, surrounded by family and friends. She felt a profound sense of peace, knowing that the twists and turns of her path had led her here, rooted, resilient, and ready for whatever lay ahead. Autumn once again painted the town in fiery hues, signaling a season of change and reflection. For Helen, this time of year carried special meaning. It was a season to gather the fruits of her labor, in the garden, in her relationships, and within herself. The past months had been filled with growth, challenges, and new insights, and Helen welcomed the opportunity to slow down and savor these moments. As the crisp air settled in, Helen noticed a renewed sense of balance in her daily life. Her mornings began with gentle stretches and meditation, setting a calm tone for the day. She cherished these quiet rituals, moments of peace that anchored her amidst life's demands. The garden, now brimming with late-season vegetables like squash, kale, and Brussels sprouts, became a source of inspiration for hearty, nourishing meals. Cooking was an act of creativity and care, a way to celebrate nature's cycles. Helen often invited neighbors and friends to share meals, deepening her sense of community. This season also brought new opportunities for Helen's wellness group. She organized a weekend retreat focused on holistic health, combining yoga, nutrition workshops, and group discussions on emotional well-being. The event was a resounding success, strengthening bonds among members and attracting newcomers eager to learn and connect. Helen's leadership was praised for its warmth and inclusivity, qualities that made participants feel valued and supported. Family life continued to be a source of joy and growth. Susan's family planned a special celebration for Helen's 70th birthday, a milestone that sparked reflection on the journey so far. Surrounded by loved ones, Helen felt a profound gratitude for the relationships that had shaped her. Stories were shared, laughter filled the air, and memories were woven into the fabric of the evening. Helen was touched by the thoughtfulness of her family and the community she had helped build. Amidst these joyful moments, Helen faced a new health challenge, a diagnosis of mild osteoporosis. The news was sobering but not devastating. With her characteristic resilience, Helen consulted specialists and adjusted her routines to strengthen bone health. She embraced weight-bearing exercises, improved calcium intake, and remained vigilant in monitoring her condition. This challenge reminded Helen of the importance of adaptability and proactive care. Helen's writing took on a new depth as she explored themes of vulnerability, strength, and the wisdom gained through adversity. She shared her reflections in local newsletters and online forums, fostering conversations about the realities of aging with honesty and hope. These contributions further solidified Helen's role as a voice for seniors seeking to navigate their health journeys with dignity. Throughout the season, Helen remained committed to nurturing her inner world. She deepened her meditation practice, explored journaling prompts that encouraged self-compassion, and engaged in creative projects that brought joy. These practices sustained her through moments of uncertainty and reinforced her belief in the transformative power of mindfulness. As autumn days shortened and the first frost appeared, Helen felt a quiet confidence. Her life was a tapestry of experiences, some painful, others joyous, but all integral to her story. She embraced the cycles of change, knowing that each season held its own lessons and gifts. Sitting by the window one chilly evening, watching leaves drift to the ground, Helen smiled. The journey that began with a simple warning about vegetables had blossomed into a profound exploration of health, love, and resilience. Life, she realized, was not defined by any single moment or challenge but by the way she chose to move forward, with courage, grace, and an open heart. As winter's first snowflakes began to fall, Helen found herself reflecting on the many changes she had experienced over the past year. The chill in the air contrasted with the warmth she carried inside, a warmth fueled by connection, purpose, and a newfound resilience. Despite the physical challenges that came with age, Helen's spirit remained vibrant, and her commitment to living fully undiminished. The holiday season brought familiar rhythms. Family gatherings filled with laughter and the aroma of home-cooked meals, quiet evenings by the fire, and moments of introspection. Helen treasured these times, seeing them as opportunities to nurture bonds and celebrate the richness of life. Yet, beneath the surface, she grappled with subtle anxieties about the future, concerns about health, independence, and the legacy she would leave behind. These feelings, though natural, spurred Helen to deepen her engagement with both her own well-being and that of her community. Recognizing the power of advocacy, Helen began volunteering with a local seniors' rights organization. She spoke out on issues of healthcare access, ageism, and the importance of resources that support aging in place. Her voice, informed by personal experience and compassionate insight, resonated deeply. Helen found that activism gave her a renewed sense of purpose and a platform to make a tangible difference. At the same time, Helen continued to prioritize self-care. She refined her daily routines to better accommodate her energy levels and joint health, balancing activity with restorative practices like Tai Chi and gentle yoga. Her diet remained vibrant and thoughtful, emphasizing variety and freshness. Helen relished experimenting with winter recipes rich in root vegetables, legumes, and warming spices that nourished both body and soul. The Mind and Body Wellness group adapted to the season by incorporating indoor activities and virtual sessions to maintain connection despite shorter days and colder weather. Helen spearheaded a series of workshops on coping with loneliness and building resilience during winter months, recognizing the emotional toll this season could bring. The group's warmth and solidarity became a beacon for many. Family continued to be a cornerstone of Helen's life. Susan and George's support was unwavering, and their shared moments, whether holiday celebrations, quiet conversations, or simple daily routines, were sources of comfort and joy. Helen also deepened relationships with friends old and new, understanding that community was essential to thriving at any age. Helen's writing evolved alongside her experiences. She completed her memoir and began working on a new project, a collection of essays exploring the intersection of aging, identity, and empowerment. Through her words, Helen sought to challenge stereotypes and inspire others to embrace their own journeys with courage. The process was both cathartic and energizing. A poignant moment arrived when Helen was invited to speak at a regional conference on healthy aging. Standing before a diverse audience, she shared her story candidly. The fears, the setbacks, the triumphs, and the lessons learned. Her message emphasized the importance of holistic care, community support, and the power of mindset. The standing ovation she received was a testament to the impact of her authenticity and advocacy. Despite the progress, Helen faced ongoing health management challenges. A flare-up of arthritis reminded her that aging was an ongoing negotiation between body and mind. She adjusted treatments with her medical team and leaned into her support systems. These experiences reinforced her philosophy of acceptance coupled with active care. As the year drew to a close, Helen spent quiet moments reviewing her journey, grateful for the unexpected twists that had shaped her path and the strength she had cultivated. She understood that aging was not a decline but a dynamic chapter rich with possibility. With hope and determination, Helen looked ahead to the new year, ready to continue her story with openness and courage. The new year dawned crisp and clear, bringing with it a sense of possibility and fresh beginnings. Helen embraced the season with a renewed commitment to balance and growth. The lessons of the past year had crystallized into wisdom, guiding her choices and interactions. She approached each day with intention, weaving mindfulness into every moment. Helen's garden, though dormant beneath a blanket of snow, remained a source of inspiration. She spent time planning the upcoming planting season, researching new varieties of vegetables and flowers that could thrive in their climate. Gardening had become more than a hobby, it was a metaphor for her own resilience and the cycles of life. Physically, Helen continued to manage her arthritis and osteoporosis with diligence and care. She maintained her tailored exercise routines, combining gentle stretching, strength training, and balance exercises recommended by her physical therapist. These practices helped her maintain mobility and independence, and she celebrated small victories, like walking a bit farther or feeling less stiffness on cold mornings. Nutrition remained a cornerstone of Helen's health strategy. She experimented with new recipes that balanced flavor and nourishment, often incorporating seasonal produce and whole foods. Helen's experience with the viral vegetable warning had taught her the importance of listening to her body and tailoring her diet accordingly. She approached food as both fuel and pleasure, an act of love toward herself. The Mind and Body Wellness group flourished in the new year. Helen introduced new formats to keep members engaged, including virtual meditation sessions and interactive cooking classes focused on anti-inflammatory meals. The group became a vibrant community hub, offering support and education that extended beyond physical health to emotional and social well-being. Helen found joy in facilitating these connections, witnessing firsthand the transformative power of community. In her personal life, Helen deepened her relationships with family and friends. Susan's children grew more independent, but visits remained a highlight, filled with storytelling, laughter, and shared activities. George continued to be a steady presence, partner, confidant, and co-adventurer. Together, they navigated the rhythms of aging with grace and humor. Helen's writing projects expanded. Encouraged by positive feedback, she began a blog to share ongoing reflections, practical tips, and stories of resilience. The platform allowed her to connect with a wider audience, including younger generations curious about aging well. Helen relished the exchange of ideas and the opportunity to inspire others through honesty and vulnerability. A meaningful challenge emerged when Helen decided to train as a volunteer health coach, aiming to support seniors one-on-one through their own wellness journeys. The training deepened her knowledge and skills, and the coaching experience became a source of fulfillment. Helen found that offering guidance and companionship helped others, and herself, feel less alone in facing health challenges. Winter's quiet pace offered moments for introspection and self-care. Helen embraced practices like journaling, gentle yoga, and restorative baths to nourish mind and body. She also prioritized rest, honoring the natural ebb and flow of energy that came with the season. These rhythms reminded her that balance was key, not only in activity but in acceptance. Reflecting on the journey that began with a simple, startling warning about vegetables, Helen marveled at the path she had traveled. What had seemed like a threat had blossomed into an opportunity for transformation. Physically, emotionally, and socially. Helen's story was a testament to the power of curiosity, resilience, and connection. As the days slowly lengthened and the first signs of spring whispered on the breeze, Helen felt ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Life's challenges remained, but so did hope, strength, and the promise of growth. The first hints of spring brought a gentle renewal to Helen's world. As the snow melted and the earth softened, she felt a similar thawing within, a readiness to embrace growth and change after the quiet introspection of winter. The days lengthened, inviting more time outdoors, and Helen eagerly resumed her walks in the neighborhood park, breathing deeply the crisp, fresh air. These walks became rituals of mindfulness, moments to center herself and appreciate the subtle beauties of life, buds emerging on trees, birdsong greeting the morning, the play of light and shadow on familiar paths. Helen found solace in these small, sacred experiences, grounding her in the present and nourishing her spirit. At home, preparations for the garden's new season filled her with anticipation. She reviewed notes from previous years, planned new layouts, and ordered seeds of heirloom tomatoes, fragrant herbs, and vibrant flowers. Gardening had become more than a pastime, it was a symbol of patience, hope, and resilience. Every seed planted was a promise of renewal, much like the journey she had been on since the vegetable warning that had sparked profound transformation. Helen's health remained a priority. The warmer weather allowed her to increase physical activity safely. She joined a local community center's senior swim program, discovering that the water's buoyancy eased joint pain and offered a joyful way to exercise. The gentle lap strengthened her muscles and lifted her mood. Helen appreciated this new addition to her routine, a refreshing complement to yoga and walking. Nutrition continued to be a cornerstone of her well-being. She delighted in creating fresh meals from spring produce, crisp asparagus, sweet peas, tender greens, while continuing to honor her body's unique needs. Helen embraced the flexibility she had cultivated, balancing enjoyment and nourishment without rigidity or fear. The wellness group that Helen had nurtured thrived in the spring. With renewed energy, she organized outdoor gatherings, picnics in the park, garden workshops, and gentle hikes that combined social connection with physical activity. The group's bonds deepened as members shared stories, struggles, and successes, creating a tapestry of support woven from empathy and encouragement. Helen's leadership style, patient, inclusive, and grounded, continued to inspire. On a personal level, Helen experienced moments of bittersweet reflection. A dear friend moved away, and Helen felt the ache of change. Yet, this transition also opened space for new friendships and opportunities. She welcomed a neighbor into her circle, a woman named Grace who shared Helen's love of gardening and storytelling. Their companionship became a source of laughter, shared meals, and mutual support, enriching Helen's social landscape. Helen's writing evolved with the seasons. Inspired by spring's themes of growth and renewal, she began drafting essays exploring the interplay between aging and creativity. She found joy in expressing vulnerability and strength through words, reaching readers who resonated with her honest, hopeful voice. Helen's blog gained traction, fostering a community of readers who exchanged encouragement and insights. A new challenge emerged when Helen decided to participate in a local intergenerational storytelling project. The initiative paired seniors with young people to share life stories and build understanding across generations. Helen embraced the project with enthusiasm, seeing it as a chance to bridge gaps, honor history, and create legacy. The experience was deeply rewarding, as she connected with her young partner and discovered fresh perspectives on her own journey. Amid these positive developments, Helen faced a health scare when a routine checkup revealed elevated blood pressure. Though not alarming, it prompted careful attention and adjustments to her lifestyle. Helen worked closely with her healthcare team, incorporating stress reduction techniques and monitoring her diet. The episode reinforced her commitment to proactive health management and the importance of listening to her body's signals. Throughout the season, Helen continued to weave mindfulness, movement, nutrition, and connection into a holistic approach to wellness. She learned that health was not a static goal but a dynamic process, requiring adaptability and compassion. As spring blossomed in full color, Helen felt a deep gratitude for the journey behind her, the present moment, and the possibilities ahead. Life's cycles, she knew, would continue to turn, and she was ready to meet each season with openness, strength, and grace. Summer arrived with its usual vibrancy, filling Helen's world with warmth, light, and activity. After the renewal of spring, the season felt like a celebration of growth and vitality. Helen embraced the longer days with enthusiasm, eager to deepen her connections and expand her horizons. Her morning walks grew longer, winding through sun-dappled parks and quiet streets, each step a reminder of how far she had come in reclaiming her health and joy. The garden, now bursting with ripe tomatoes, fragrant basil, and colorful peppers, became a center of creativity and nourishment. Helen experimented with fresh recipes, inviting neighbors and friends to share meals that celebrated summer's bounty. These gatherings were filled with laughter and stories, moments that stitched community tighter and filled Helen's heart. Physically, Helen continued to explore new ways to move her body. She signed up for a gentle dance class designed for seniors, discovering joy in rhythm and motion. The classes offered not only exercise but also social connection, as participants encouraged each other through the steps. Helen found the experience invigorating and fun, a reminder that wellness could be playful as well as purposeful. Her commitment to balanced nutrition remained steady. She embraced seasonal foods and experimented with light, colorful dishes that were as delicious as they were healthful. Helen's experience with dietary caution, sparked by the viral vegetable warning, had taught her to listen attentively to her body, trusting its signals and adapting with care. The Mind and Body Wellness group flourished in summer. Helen organized outdoor activities that combined physical movement, mindfulness, and socializing. Yoga sessions in the park, group walks along scenic trails, and potluck picnics enriched the group's connections and energy. Helen's leadership continued to be a source of inspiration and warmth, drawing new members eager to embrace holistic health. Family moments during the summer were particularly precious. Helen's grandchildren visited often, eager to explore the garden, cook together, and learn about healthy living. These intergenerational exchanges filled Helen with hope for the future, as she shared wisdom and created memories. Susan and George remained steadfast companions, their shared journey marked by mutual respect, humor, and love. Helen's writing took on new dimensions. She began working on a memoir that blended personal narrative with reflections on aging, resilience, and wellness. The process was both challenging and healing, as Helen confronted fears and celebrated strengths through her words. Encouraged by supportive feedback, she also started hosting a local storytelling group, where seniors shared their journeys and inspired each other. A significant moment came when Helen was invited to speak at a community health fair. Her talk, centered on holistic approaches to aging well, was met with enthusiasm and gratitude. Helen felt a deep satisfaction in using her experiences to empower others. Despite the joys, Helen faced challenges as well. A flare-up of arthritis reminded her of the ongoing negotiation between body and mind in aging. She adjusted treatments and leaned into her support network, finding comfort in shared understanding and practical care. This experience reinforced her philosophy of acceptance coupled with active engagement. As summer days stretched into golden evenings, Helen found herself reflecting on the nature of time, how moments of growth, struggle, and joy wove together into the rich tapestry of life. She embraced the unpredictability with grace, trusting that each season brought its own gifts. Sitting on her porch, watching fireflies flicker in the dusk, Helen felt a profound sense of peace and purpose. Her journey, once sparked by a startling warning about vegetables, had blossomed into a life of meaning, connection, and hope. As the warmth of summer began to fade and hints of fall crept into the air, Helen found herself in a contemplative mood. The vibrant energy of the past months gently gave way to a quieter rhythm, inviting introspection and preparation for the season ahead. Helen's daily walks took on a reflective tone, the changing colors of the leaves mirroring her own evolving sense of self. The garden, once bursting with summer's bounty, now offered late-season crops, pumpkins, winter squash, and hardy greens, that required careful tending. Helen approached this work with a sense of reverence, knowing that each harvest was a gift and a reminder of nature's cycles. Physically, Helen continued to balance activity with rest, mindful of her body's signals as the cooler weather challenged her joints. She adapted her routines, incorporating more indoor exercises and focusing on strength and flexibility. Nutrition remained central, with Helen experimenting with warming soups and stews that comforted both body and spirit. The Mind and Body Wellness group transitioned smoothly into the fall season, embracing new activities that fit the changing environment. Helen organized workshops on managing stress and boosting immunity, drawing on expert speakers and group discussions. The community support deepened, with members sharing personal stories and coping strategies for the challenges of aging. Helen's leadership style, marked by empathy, patience, and inclusivity, continued to foster a sense of belonging and empowerment. Family life brought both joy and complexity. Susan's children were growing, and their lives increasingly busy, yet visits remained treasured occasions filled with connection and learning. Helen's relationship with George deepened, rooted in shared history and mutual care. They spent evenings discussing books, planning trips, and reflecting on life's journey. Helen's writing advanced steadily. She completed a draft of her memoir and began seeking feedback from trusted friends and mentors. The process of sharing her story was both vulnerable and liberating, allowing Helen to honor her past and embrace her present. She also continued her blog, engaging with a growing audience who found inspiration in her honesty and hope. A new opportunity arose when Helen was invited to collaborate with a local university's aging research program. She participated in focus groups and community events aimed at improving senior health services. This engagement provided fresh insights and reinforced Helen's commitment to advocacy and education. Amid these positive developments, Helen encountered a health setback, a minor fall at home that caused a brief hospital stay. Though she recovered quickly, the incident prompted careful reflection on safety and independence. Helen took steps to modify her living space and accepted additional support from family and friends. This experience, while unsettling, deepened Helen's understanding of vulnerability and the importance of community. Throughout the season, Helen maintained her focus on holistic wellness, balancing physical care with emotional and social nourishment. She embraced mindfulness practices that helped manage anxiety and foster resilience. Helen's journey continued to unfold as a testament to adaptability and grace in the face of life's inevitable changes. As autumn deepened and the first frost arrived, Helen sat by her window, watching the world transform. She felt a profound sense of gratitude, for the lessons learned, the relationships nurtured, and the strength gained. Life, she knew, was a series of seasons, each with its own beauty and challenge. Helen was ready to meet whatever came next with an open heart and steady spirit. The arrival of late autumn brought a crisp clarity to Helen's days. The leaves had mostly fallen, leaving bare branches silhouetted against the pale sky, and the shorter daylight hours invited cozy moments indoors. Helen found comfort in routines that balanced productivity with rest, knowing that her body required gentler care as the seasons changed. She continued her mindful walks when weather allowed, layering warmly and savoring the quiet stillness of the neighborhood. Her home became a sanctuary, a place filled with warmth, memories, and intentional spaces for creativity and reflection. The garden, now dormant, rested beneath a soft cover of mulch and fallen leaves, awaiting the renewal of spring. Helen took time to catalog the past year's harvests and garden journals, making plans for next season with thoughtful adjustments to improve yield and sustainability. Health-wise, Helen remained vigilant. The fall months often brought new challenges as the cold affected her joints and energy levels. She worked closely with her healthcare providers to manage symptoms, adjusting medications and therapies as needed. Nutrition remained a central focus, with Helen favoring warming, nutrient-dense meals that supported her immune system and comforted her spirit. The Mind and Body Wellness group adapted to indoor activities, gathering regularly in a cozy community center where Helen led sessions on meditation, gentle movement, and creative expression. The group's camaraderie deepened in these intimate settings, members sharing not only health tips but personal stories and emotional support. Helen's leadership continued to emphasize kindness, inclusivity, and empowerment, making the group a beacon for many navigating the complexities of aging. Family moments were bittersweet this season. Holidays brought opportunities for celebration and connection but also highlighted the inevitable changes in dynamics as generations aged and roles shifted. Helen treasured time with Susan and George, as well as visits from grandchildren whose lives moved quickly but whose affection remained constant. The evolving nature of family underscored the importance of presence and intentionality in relationships. Helen's writing journey progressed with renewed vigor. She revised her memoir, incorporating feedback and deepening thematic elements around resilience, identity, and the power of community. The process was both challenging and rewarding, prompting Helen to explore new depths of vulnerability and strength. Her blog continued to attract readers, becoming a platform for dialogue and mutual encouragement. A significant milestone came when Helen was invited to participate in a panel discussion at a local library on aging with grace and grit. Speaking alongside other seniors and healthcare professionals, Helen shared her insights and experiences, emphasizing holistic health and the importance of self-advocacy. The event was well attended and sparked lively conversation, leaving Helen energized and hopeful about future opportunities to influence perceptions of aging. Despite the many positive developments, Helen faced moments of doubt and fatigue. The cumulative toll of managing chronic conditions and the emotional weight of life's transitions sometimes felt overwhelming. She acknowledged these feelings openly, seeking support from friends, family, and her wellness group. Through vulnerability, Helen found strength and connection, learning that acceptance was a powerful form of resilience. As the year neared its end, Helen reflected on her journey with a profound sense of gratitude. The path had been far from easy, marked by challenges, losses, and unexpected turns. Yet, it was also rich with love, learning, and growth. Helen understood that aging was not a decline but a continuous unfolding, an opportunity to deepen wisdom and embrace life fully. Sitting by the fire on a chilly evening, Helen penned a letter to her younger self, a message of encouragement, compassion, and hope. She wrote of the importance of patience, self-love, and the courage to seek joy even in adversity. This act of reflection brought a peaceful closure to the year and a hopeful gaze toward the future. Life's seasons would continue to turn, and Helen was ready to meet each one with open arms and a resilient heart. The new year arrived with a quiet promise, and Helen welcomed it with open arms. After the reflective close of autumn and winter's slow embrace, she felt a surge of energy and determination to continue evolving. The holidays had brought moments of joy and connection, but also underscored the importance of intentional living. Helen set new goals that blended health, creativity, and community, resolved to live with purpose each day. Her morning routine became a sacred practice of meditation, gentle stretching, and journaling, tools that helped her center herself and set a positive tone. Outside, winter's grip softened as the days gradually grew longer, inviting Helen to step outdoors more often. Though the chill remained, she embraced brisk walks that invigorated her body and cleared her mind. The neighborhood, dusted in frost and shimmering under pale sunlight, offered a quiet beauty that inspired gratitude and presence. Helen's garden planning intensified as she researched innovative techniques to enhance sustainability and soil health. She experimented with companion planting and organic pest control, eager to create a thriving ecosystem that mirrored her holistic approach to wellness. The anticipation of new life emerging from the earth filled her with hope and excitement. Physical health remained a priority. Helen continued her tailored exercise regimen, balancing cardio, strength, and flexibility, always mindful of her body's signals. She scheduled regular check-ins with her healthcare team and explored complementary therapies such as acupuncture and massage, which helped manage discomfort and stress. Nutrition stayed central, with Helen focusing on nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory foods, adapting recipes to suit her evolving tastes and needs. The Mind and Body Wellness group embraced the new year with fresh energy and initiatives. Helen introduced a mentorship program pairing newer members with seasoned participants, fostering deeper connections and shared learning. Workshops expanded to include creative arts, nutrition education, and technology skills, empowering seniors to navigate modern challenges with confidence. The group's spirit of support and inclusivity blossomed, becoming a cornerstone of community wellness. Helen's family life continued to be rich and complex. Susan's family grew busier, but visits remained treasured, filled with storytelling, cooking, and laughter. George and Helen deepened their partnership, supporting each other through challenges and celebrating joys. Together, they planned small trips to nearby nature reserves and cultural events, savoring experiences that enriched their bond. Writing became a joyful outlet and a means of connection. Helen's memoir neared completion, and she began exploring opportunities for publication. She also launched a podcast series featuring interviews with fellow seniors, healthcare professionals, and wellness experts. This new venture allowed Helen to share diverse perspectives and expand her impact. A defining moment came when Helen was invited to speak at a regional conference on aging and wellness. Preparing for the talk, she reflected on her journey, from the alarming vegetable warning that sparked change, to the multifaceted path she had carved. The experience was both nerve-wracking and exhilarating, and Helen's heartfelt presentation resonated deeply with attendees. Throughout these developments, Helen faced ongoing challenges. Episodes of pain and fatigue reminded her of aging's realities, but she met them with resilience and grace. She cultivated mindfulness and self-compassion, understanding that setbacks were part of the journey. Helen's community provided steadfast support, offering encouragement and practical help. As winter slowly yielded to early spring, Helen felt a profound sense of renewal. The cycles of nature mirrored her own evolution, constant, layered, and full of possibility. She embraced the unknown with curiosity and courage, confident that life's seasons, with their trials and triumphs, would continue to shape her story. Sitting by a window overlooking the awakening garden, Helen penned a note to her readers: "Every day is a chance to begin anew, to nurture growth in ourselves and each other. Life's challenges are real, but so is our capacity to rise, connect, and thrive." With these words, Helen closed the chapter on another year of transformation and looked ahead, ready for the adventures yet to come. Spring fully blossomed around Helen, filling her days with light and vibrant energy. The garden, once dormant, now teemed with life as tender shoots pushed through the soil, promising a season of growth and renewal. Helen greeted each morning with gratitude, feeling a renewed connection to the earth and the rhythms of nature. Her hands, dirt-streaked and calloused, moved with purpose as she planted seeds, tended young plants, and nurtured the ecosystem she had carefully cultivated. This physical engagement grounded her, providing both solace and strength. The changing season also brought new social opportunities. Helen embraced invitations to local community events and volunteered at the senior center, sharing her knowledge of gardening, nutrition, and wellness with others eager to learn. These interactions enriched her sense of purpose and expanded her circle of friends. The Mind and Body Wellness group celebrated spring with outdoor activities, picnics, nature walks, and garden workshops that connected members with the season's vitality. Helen's leadership shone as she balanced organization with openness, encouraging creativity and shared responsibility. Health remained a dynamic aspect of Helen's life. She continued to manage chronic conditions with a combination of medical guidance and holistic practices, including herbal teas and gentle acupuncture. The balance between modern medicine and traditional wisdom reflected Helen's integrative approach. Nutrition shifted with the season's offerings. Fresh greens, strawberries, and early peas, bringing lightness and variety to meals. Helen delighted in crafting dishes that were both nourishing and flavorful, often inviting friends to share these creations. Family ties remained a cornerstone of Helen's happiness. Visits with Susan and George were marked by warmth and mutual care, as well as moments of vulnerability as they navigated life's transitions together. Helen treasured time with her grandchildren, whose youthful curiosity and joy brought fresh perspective and laughter. In her writing, Helen explored themes of interconnectedness and legacy. She worked on a new essay series examining the ways seniors contribute to community vitality and cultural memory. Her podcast episodes featured stories of resilience and innovation, highlighting diverse voices and experiences. These creative endeavors fueled Helen's sense of mission and belonging. A surprising opportunity emerged when Helen was invited to participate in a local environmental initiative aimed at creating sustainable urban gardens. Collaborating with younger volunteers and city officials, Helen found herself bridging generations and disciplines. The experience was both challenging and inspiring, expanding her understanding of community engagement and environmental stewardship. Throughout this period, Helen faced occasional setbacks, flare-ups of arthritis, bouts of fatigue, but she met them with practiced resilience and self-care. Mindfulness meditation, gentle yoga, and support from friends helped her navigate these fluctuations with grace. As the season advanced, Helen reflected on the lessons spring offered, the power of patience, the promise of renewal, and the joy of nurturing growth, both in the earth and within herself. Sitting beneath a blossoming tree in her garden, Helen felt a profound sense of peace and connection. Life's cycles continued to unfold, weaving moments of challenge and triumph into a rich tapestry of experience. Helen embraced each day as a gift, ready to cultivate beauty, health, and love in every season. By the time summer returned, Helen felt a quiet strength pulsing through her days. The vibrancy of the season, the sunlit mornings and long golden evenings, seemed to mirror the ripening of her own journey. Her garden had matured into a lush, thriving haven, filled with the scent of herbs, the gentle buzz of pollinators, and the steady rhythm of growth. It wasn't just a garden anymore, it was a sanctuary, a living testament to what care, patience, and vision could create. People began to visit regularly, not just friends but members of the community who had heard about the Wellness Garden from Helen's podcast or the Senior Center. Some came for gardening tips, others simply to feel the peace of the place. Helen welcomed them all, her time among the beds of tomatoes, mint, and lavender becoming as much about listening and storytelling as it was about watering and weeding. The space offered something rare and powerful, a place to be heard, a place to connect. Her health remained a journey, but one she now walked with clarity and calm. Some days were harder than others, her knees complained, her energy dipped, but Helen had learned to meet her body where it was. She paced herself, prioritized hydration, adjusted her schedule, and leaned into rest when needed. She no longer resented these slowdowns. Instead, she treated them as reminders that wellness was about harmony, not perfection. Nutrition continued to be an act of love. Summer's bounty inspired colorful salads, chilled soups, and refreshing herbal infusions. Helen took joy in preparing meals for others, often hosting small lunches under the shade of her backyard trees. She believed food tasted better when shared, and her table, modest, full of laughter and conversation, was often full. In the Mind and Body Wellness group, a new project took root. At Helen's suggestion, the group began developing a community cookbook, a collection of recipes that blended health, memory, and cultural heritage. Each member contributed dishes along with stories of where they came from, who had taught them, and why they mattered. Helen watched with quiet awe as members opened up, not just about food, but about family, loss, tradition, and hope. The cookbook became more than a project. It was a celebration of life. Family remained Helen's anchor. Susan, juggling career and motherhood, often leaned on Helen for advice and emotional support, and their bond had grown stronger, more reciprocal. George was her rock, steady and kind, always willing to lend a hand or simply sit with her in silence. Her grandchildren, now old enough to ask bigger questions, often turned to Helen for stories about their family, the past, and her views on the future. One afternoon, her granddaughter asked her, "Grandma, are you ever afraid of getting older?" Helen paused before answering. "Sometimes," she said. "But not like I used to be. Aging's not something to fear. It's a teacher. It shows you what really matters. And when you live with intention and love, it becomes something beautiful." Helen's influence began to stretch beyond her immediate circle. She was invited to write an article for a national wellness magazine, sharing her journey of transformation, from that startling moment with Elon Musk's viral vegetable warning, to her current life of balance, leadership, and peace. The article was well received, sparking letters from readers across the country who saw themselves in her story and found encouragement in her words. She was humbled, yet also deeply moved. The ripple effect of her choices, the way she had faced fear, chosen change, and leaned into community, was now touching lives far beyond what she had ever imagined. Yet even as her reach grew, Helen remained grounded. She kept a small notebook where she jotted down simple joys each day: the first blush of a tomato, a stranger's compliment, the coolness of iced tea on a hot afternoon, the weight of a book in her lap. These small gratitudes anchored her, helping her hold on to the present moment no matter what swirled around her. She knew, deeply, that life's beauty lay in its ordinary magic. And still, there were hard days, moments when grief bubbled up unexpectedly, when the ache in her hands made it hard to write, when she felt the absence of friends who had passed or moved away. Helen didn't deny these feelings anymore. She welcomed them as visitors, honored them, and then let them go. Her resilience was not in pretending everything was fine, but in choosing, again and again, to keep living fully despite the losses. Toward the end of summer, Helen received an email from a young woman in Ohio. She had read Helen's article and shared that her own grandmother had passed recently, leaving behind a garden and a half-finished book. She asked Helen if she would be willing to speak to her class about legacy and aging. Helen smiled, deeply touched. She agreed. Legacy, she realized, wasn't just about what you left behind. It was about what you lived into every day, the lives you touched, the love you gave, the hope you inspired. Her story was still unfolding. And she was far from done. The first signs of fall began to return: cooler mornings, golden light slanting across her garden, and a hushed sense of transition. Helen stood in the backyard, watching the sun lower behind the trees, its light catching the tops of the late-blooming sunflowers that still stood strong in her soil. She inhaled deeply, sensing not just the change in the air but in herself. Something inside her had begun to shift, not with urgency, but with clarity. After so much giving, so much building, so much growth, she felt called inward. Not to retreat, but to listen more closely. There was still so much she wanted to do, yet she also understood now that impact wasn't measured in volume or visibility, it was measured in truth. This season, she felt drawn toward truth in all its forms. One afternoon, while organizing her writing desk, she found a letter she had written the year before, tucked beneath drafts and notebooks. It was a letter to herself, raw, emotional, filled with the fear and determination she'd carried after her fall, when she'd felt old and helpless. Reading it now, Helen didn't cry. She smiled, softly. She whispered a quiet thank you to that version of herself, the one who had chosen to fight, to change, to lead. That woman had brought her here. And now, it was time to go even deeper. The Mind and Body Wellness group, still thriving, began to feel like something more than a project to Helen. It was a legacy. She realized that while she had built it from passion and purpose, it could not always rest on her shoulders. She began to mentor 2 younger women in the group, women who had shown vision and heart. She taught them not only how to run meetings or lead meditations, but how to listen, how to hold space for others, how to foster trust. One day, after a particularly moving session where members shared how the group had saved their lives in unseen ways, Helen stepped outside alone and cried, not from exhaustion, but from release. She knew now the group would live on without her at its center. That knowledge didn't diminish her. It freed her. Her health, always a compass in her journey, continued to test and teach her. A diagnosis of borderline osteoporosis prompted new treatments, more physical therapy, and even deeper attention to nutrition. There were days her hands ached so much that she could hardly hold a pen, but she adjusted. She used voice-to-text software when she couldn't type. She gardened with tools adapted for comfort. She stopped pushing through pain and instead started honoring her limits without judgment. Helen's family noticed the change, not just the physical one, but the emotional. She was softer in some ways, stronger in others. Her conversations with Susan became more honest, less focused on advice and more centered on presence. With George, she began talking more openly about aging, not from a place of fear, but from one of curiosity. "What do you want the next 10 years to feel like?" she asked him one evening as they watched the leaves fall. "I want to feel peace," he answered. "And I want us to keep laughing." Helen smiled. That felt exactly right. Meanwhile, her memoir was finally complete. After over a year of writing, rewriting, and waiting, Helen held the final printed proof in her hands. The cover was simple: her garden on a foggy morning, title in small, elegant letters, Roots of Change, one woman's journey through fear, food, and finding her way back to life. She didn't cry when it arrived. Instead, she made tea, sat on the porch, and read the first chapter aloud to herself. Every word carried a memory. Every paragraph carried a promise kept. Publishing it was never about fame, it was about making her story available, accessible, in case it helped someone else make sense of theirs. And it did. The first week it launched, Helen received dozens of messages. A woman in Iowa wrote to say she'd left her abusive marriage after reading Helen's blog posts. A retired teacher in Michigan thanked her for making aging feel like a triumph instead of a slow fade. The ripple effect of truth had reached farther than Helen could have ever imagined. And yet, the closer she moved toward peace, the more she was reminded that peace isn't stillness, it's motion with grace. Her days were still full, of conversations, of learning, of mistakes and beauty. But her relationship to time had changed. She no longer rushed to accomplish. She moved with intention. She rested without guilt. One of her proudest moments came during an autumn community wellness fair, where Helen gave her final public workshop. The title, Let Your Life Speak. Dozens attended, some who knew her, others who had read her book or heard her podcast. She spoke from the heart, sharing the arc of her journey, the way food, fear, and self-doubt had nearly narrowed her life into a box she didn't fit into. And how a wake-up call, one that sounded absurd at first, Elon Musk warning about vegetables, had cracked her open to possibility. After the session, people lingered. Not to praise her, but to ask real questions. Hard ones. Deep ones. And Helen answered every single one, not with certainty, but with clarity. That evening, she and George sat on the porch, wrapped in blankets, sipping cider. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. Helen's garden rustled in the wind. Somewhere nearby, a child laughed. A dog barked. The sun dipped below the trees. "You did something," George said. "You changed people's lives." Helen looked out across the garden, her heart steady. "So did they," she whispered. And she knew then, legacy isn't about being remembered. It's about living in such a way that others remember themselves more clearly. And in that clarity, they begin to bloom. Winter returned quietly, its presence gentle and unhurried. Snow blanketed Helen's garden in soft folds, and the trees stood still, bare but dignified. Inside her home, warmth glowed from every corner, the fireplace, the soft lamps, the handwritten notes and photographs pinned around her desk. Helen moved slowly these days, not from weakness but with intention. Every step had meaning, every breath a moment of connection to something larger than herself. Her mornings began as always, with tea and silence, the journal still open beside her chair. She found herself writing less about what needed to be done, and more about what had been felt. Gratitude had become her native language. Her health, like the seasons, cycled through change. The aches persisted, and her bones reminded her of their age with small protests. But she had long since stopped seeing this as a loss. It was part of the agreement: if you live long enough, you carry weight. But you also carry light. Helen's days were filled, though no longer busy. She mentored, she listened, she tended. The Mind and Body Wellness group continued to thrive under new leadership, and Helen watched with pride as her protégés built on the foundation she had laid. New voices filled the rooms, fresh ideas sparked growth, but the spirit remained, the spirit of dignity, of resilience, of walking each other home. She still gardened, in her own way. Indoors now, with potted herbs lining the windowsill and trays of winter greens under grow lights. George helped her mix soil and lift heavier pots, always with a quiet reverence for what the act meant. They had grown something together, not just plants, but life itself. Her family gathered more often as the holidays approached. Her home rang with laughter, grandchildren's footsteps, and stories told around the table. One evening, Susan took her hand, her eyes shining with tears. "You've changed me, Mom. You changed how I think about everything, food, health, aging, life." Helen simply squeezed her daughter's hand and said, "We changed each other." The memoir had found its audience. A small publishing house offered to feature it in libraries and wellness centers across the country. Helen received letters weekly, some handwritten, some emailed, filled with thanks, confessions, and reflections from strangers who felt seen, understood, and emboldened by her words. She saved every one. But the story wasn't hers anymore. It had become a mirror for others to find themselves. One frosty afternoon, as snow fell lightly outside, Helen recorded her final podcast episode. She titled it, "This Is Not the End." She spoke directly, calmly, with the depth of someone who had lived through every kind of weather. "You may have found this story because of a strange headline about Elon Musk and vegetables," she said with a smile in her voice. "But maybe you stayed because you saw yourself in it. Because you, too, have been afraid. You, too, have had to start over. And maybe you're wondering if it's too late to change. Let me tell you, it's not. Every day is a new beginning. Every breath is a return. No matter your age, your losses, your regrets, there is still light. There is still love. There is still time." She paused, and then added softly, "You are still here. And that is enough." She ended the episode the way she had ended them all, with a simple question for reflection: what's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Then she clicked the stop button. Outside, snow continued to fall. Helen stood by the window, her reflection overlapping with the trees beyond. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't need to. She had done what she came to do. Not just survive, but transform. Not just live, but awaken. And now, others would carry it forward. The warning that once terrified her had become the spark for everything good. She had taken fear and grown a garden. She had taken pain and built a home for others. She had taken aging and turned it into art. That night, Helen sat with George beside the fire. They said little, wrapped in quiet. The flames danced gently, shadows flickering across their faces. Helen thought of everyone who had walked this path with her, and everyone still out there walking theirs. "Life is full of surprises," she whispered, "but love will always lead the way." And with that, the room fell still, the fire crackled on, and Helen rested, in her body, in her story, in her truth. Not the end. Just another beautiful beginning. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?